history, the heritage, and the legacy of the Black community. Black people have made their homes here.
Mimi nauliza, eti kuna nini? Mbona nasikia wenzetu wanateseka?
If Black folks are to be included in institutions, the policies have to also be audited for inclusivity as well. Policies have to reflect the people. Finally, and this is one of my favorites, immigration. I am not against letting in refugees to Canada. However, can the same rules please apply to all?
Well, I am actually downtown. My son is here with me. Hi, Zane. And we are gonna go to this event today. So it's Black History Month. Today is the 27th, and let's see what they have to offer. I am hearing a lot of drumming, so I guess the event has started. We're 2 minutes behind. Had to make sure I pick up my little one. But don't forget to support Darcikin Organics. I came to launch this brand. I'm hoping it's going to be something phenomenal here in Edmonton. Hi, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. So we're gonna head inside. The entrance. This is on 99 Avenue. We're taking the west entrance. Come on. Lower down here. So it's this building. Thank you.
Gentlemen, how are you guys? Good, how are you? Good. Yeah. Okay.
Slow. Okay. Come put your jacket.
We have 2 more songs for you guys, all right? Everything we just did, that was warm up. This is the real show.
I'm gonna be at the front.
Here we go.
Where you going?
Thank you guys so much. On this song, if you feel like dancing, tricky. The second one. Boom, boom. The third one. And then we're done. Yeah, because we keep going from the top. There we go. Dig it.
Just showcasing our Black history. And here we have John, we have Clarence, Eleanor, and Rolly, all black. Are you happy? Let's go on the inside.
Thank you very much, Premier Smith. It's extremely important and special just to have you here with us to hear from you, so thank you. I would now like to introduce Minister Kaycee Madu, Deputy Premier and Minister of Skilled Trades and Professions.
Thank you, China. First, let me also acknowledge the presence of Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Sona Lakani, her husband, Dr. Lakani, Premier Smith. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have the leaders of our province attend this event. It is important to the Black community and indeed all of our ethno-cultural communities. Let me also recognize the presence of my colleague, the Minister of Indigenous Relations, the Honorable Rick Wilson, the Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, and our fantastic MLA for Aldrey East, Angela Pitt. Thank you for being here as well. Former Councillor Ray Watkins, our honorable guest speakers, Professor TIMECODES, Dr. Sophia Yohani, Dr. Miriam Sekandi, all of our performers from the Afro-Caribbean heritage community, and indeed all of our Black leaders and peoples that have gathered here tonight. As a proud Black Albertan, I am pleased to join you to celebrate Black History Month as we mark the end of our month-long celebration of Black History this February. I hope all Albertans took the time to celebrate the rich, dynamic, and diverse cultures of Alberta's Black community. It is a great time to commemorate the history, the heritage, and the legacy of the Black community. Black people have made their homes here for longer than we have been a province, starting out as a people who fled from unimaginable oppression from the United States, then settling as fur traders, farmers, ranchers, and cowboys. Alberta's Black pioneer heritage dates back to the mid-19th century when several Black pioneers found jobs in the untamed West. Black people started arriving in Alberta in the 1800s, mostly then as single men who worked as fur traders or cowboys. By 1901, 37 Black people were documented to be living in Alberta. Between 1908 and 1911, more than 1,000 Black settlers arrived in Alberta from Oklahoma who fled from Jim Crow laws, again in the United States. Sadly, it was the Liberal Prime Minister Wilfrid Laurier's government that passed an order in council declaring that Black people were not suited to come to Canada in 1911 and therefore banned them from seeking refuge here. Two of the earliest recorded Black settlers were Beulah Heslop Carothers and Samuel Carothers and their 8 children. They crossed the Canadian border and took the train from Emerson, Manitoba, to Edmonton, to Athabasca, and blazed a trail to Pine Creek, which was later known as Amber Valley. That is an integral part of the history of how Black communities started in this province. Black people then settled and established communities, as I said before, Amber Valley, Junkins, now known as Wildwood, Keystone, now Bruthen, and Kaycee. Those communities thrived throughout the 20th century. The question for us all today is what then happened to these communities? The Black community in Alberta continues to build a strong and united front in our efforts to uplift the status of our Black brothers and sisters who have come to Alberta and who now call this amazing province home. Today, our brothers and sisters in the Black community continue to find effective ways to contribute to our province as entrepreneurs, lawyers, doctors, scientists, engineers, academics, educators, artists, independent contractors, and creators, and in many more careers, including politics. One of such professional and emerging Black leader is my friend, Ms. Brittany Stoll, a civil engineer who specializes in stormwater engineering and technology. I must note that she is a direct descendant of the early Black settlers from Oklahoma. Today, more than 130,000 Black people live in our province, and the community continues to grow. While we continue to fight racism and systemic discrimination, we continue the important work of improving the lives of Black people, and indeed all Albertans in this province. Brothers and sisters, despite all of the obstacles we currently face, I am here, however, to tell you that Alberta is still that land of promise and opportunity. The sky is the limit as to what we can achieve when we work together. My own experience as Canada's first Black Attorney General, Solicitor General and Minister of Justice, and now, as the Premier noted, the first Black Deputy Premier in Canadian history, is proof of the little progress that we have made, and a signal that we can still achieve our goals right here at home. We just need to make sure that we are judged, we continue to be judged, and this is important. We just need to stay vigilant and make sure that we are continuing to be judged by the content of our character and who we are, not the color of our skin, the sound of our mother tongue, or ethnicity. We are Albertans, and we should be proud of our heritage. In 2019, that was what led me into active politics to ensure that the Alberta advantage is still a reality. And since then, I've had the greatest privilege of my life of serving as the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the Attorney General, Minister of Labour and Immigration, and now the Deputy Premier, whilst also serving as a member of the legislature. But today, we celebrate Black History Month so that we can grow, we can learn, and we can be successful. It is also a time to reflect, share our success, and talk about the challenges we continue to face. This government, our government, takes systemic racism seriously. We have strengthened the Alberta Anti-Racism Advisory Council, and last year, we also launched Alberta's first Anti-Racism Action Plan. This plan is an important milestone and provides a path forward on how government will address racism and build a more diverse and inclusive society. On April 7, 2021, as Justice Minister, I tabled Bill 63, which ultimately banned the police unfair practice of carding to ensure all peoples are treated equal under the law. In December 2022, just before the end of last year, my colleague, the Minister of Justice and Solicitor General, the Honorable Tyler Shandro, tabled Bill 6, the Police Amendment Act 2022, which is now law. I want to highlight two key features of that bill. For the first time in our province's history, a civilian independent agency called the Police Review Commission was established. That commission would manage complaints against the police and conduct disciplinary proceedings. The second key feature of that particular act is a requirement for police to create diversity and inclusion plans to reflect the communities they serve and better understand their needs. Your experience with racism and your fight for equality are important to this government. It is also an important aspect of how we can improve and close the gap that exists in our system. For the first time in the history of our province's public service, we also now have the first Black Assistant Deputy Minister and the first Black Deputy Minister. This government held the first ever Premier Summit on Fairness for Newcomers. We passed the Fair Registration Practices Act, and we established the Fairness for Newcomers Office. This year, Premier Smith will be holding the second Premier Summit on Fairness for Newcomers on March 17th this year in Calgary. This summit is an important step forward in giving immigrants equal opportunity to work, live, and thrive in Alberta. My hope is that all of us from every corner of this province find the time to attend that summit. All of this groundbreaking progress was made under this government beginning in 2019, when I was first elected and sworn in as the first African-born Minister of the Crown in any provincial government in this country. right here in Alberta. But I understand there is still a lot of work to be done. But if we work together, there is no obstacle too great that we can't overcome. So today, let us all pay tribute to those early black settlers, pioneers, who paved the way to ensure that we have today. Today, I think of black pioneers such as the Premier and the Honorable Lieutenant Governor have noted John Ware, a legend in his own right. Eleanor Ruth Collins, Violet King Henry, Venita Nelson Anderson, Annie Saunders, Lionel Loxley Jones. I also want to pay tribute to today's trailblazers and leaders of the black community. I don't have the time and the space to mention all of them, but I will try to name a few. Charles Odomir Ankro, Joy Thomas, Thomas Banko. Thank you. Dr. Ezeji Okoye, Chinwoke, Morenike Olasubokun, Helen Abonison, Funke Olakude, and of course, our very own councillors, Funke Banjoko and Jeeps Abitoye. This special moment is for honoring these early black Albertans and pioneers. Let us be inspired and be uplifted and be humbled by these figures from our history. At the same time, I hope everyone knows that in their own way, they are helping to write the next chapter of black history in Alberta, always working towards equality for all. And whether we come from the Caribbean or mainland Africa, such as Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, Ghana, Nigeria, we all have common experiences, and there is need for us to band together for the next generation. Black History Month helps connect us with our roots, reminds Albertans that the black people have been part of the story of their province throughout its history, and inspires us to always look to a brighter future. Happy Black History Month, everyone. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless Alberta.
Welcome back to our official program this evening, and thank you for your patience as well. If we could all please rise as the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta arrives with the Premier as well. Thank you, everyone. I will invite us to take our seats as well. Thank you. So we acknowledge Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We also acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who have a deep connection with this land we are on. Tonight, we are joined by Her Honour, the Honourable Sal Malakani, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, the Honourable Daniel Smith, Premier of Alberta, Deputy Premier, the Honourable Kaycee Madu, Minister of Skilled Trades and Professions, Honourable Rick Wilson, Minister of Indigenous Relations, and MLA Angela Pitt. We also have several speakers and great performances lined up for us tonight, quite entertaining. It's really wonderful to see everyone today. It's wonderful that we are all here to celebrate Black History Month. We will start this evening's program with a performance of O Canada, performed by the Sangeya Band. So I'm going to get us all to sing along together. I have no singing voice. So if we could all just rise and we will sing O Canada together. And we'll have some Sangeya drummers and dancers drum along with us. This evening. I am pleased to introduce Her Honour, Salma Lakani, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, to give us a few words.
These wires or okay. Premier Daniel Smith, Deputy Premier Kaycee Madu, all elected officials, community leaders, distinguished guests all. Good evening. It's such a pleasure for my husband Zahir and me to join you for this celebration of Black History Month. In the spirit of meaningful reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge all First Peoples who have called this place home for thousands of years and who welcomed us here to make our own lives. May we always dwell together on these lands with peace, respect, and understanding. In addition to sharing this beautiful land and contributing to the spirit of compassion in our communities, each one of us has an important role to play in shaping and in understanding the story of who we are as Albertans and Canadians. As someone who was born in Africa and who came to this country some 45 years ago, it is so gratifying for me to see the success of Black History Month. We are, as a province and a country, finally filling in some of the gaping holes in our rich and diverse history, something which we should all aspire to be better informed about. And always remember, our collective success is thanks to the contributions of all of our different communities that make us the province and country that we are. Annual traditions like this special month give us an opportunity to fully illuminate the various chapters of our history, bringing them to life and adding much needed context and perspective, and that includes learning about Black history. Many Black Albertans have deep roots in our communities, stretching back to before Alberta becoming a province. Others are part of the very exciting, vibrant, and and growing population of new Canadians who have so many strengths and ideas to offer. As a relative newcomer, my own education about this amazing early chapter in Alberta's history was thanks to one of my husband's patients who grew up in Amber Valley and who gave an excellent history lesson when my husband asked him, "Where do you come from?" That was when we were first introduced to the story of Black pioneers who settled in Amber Valley and other parts of Canada, and to the story of John Ware, who was a legend in his own time. He is a legend today. And thanks to storyteller and filmmaker Cheryl Fogo, will always remain a proud legend across Canada. We need to ensure that everyone can see themselves and feel a sense of belonging in our history, in our society today, and in the years ahead. Every aspect of Black history that we explore opens a new door to learning, to meaningful dialogue, and to a more inclusive future for all. As His Majesty the King's representative in Alberta, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Deputy Premier Kaycee Madu for hosting this evening's event, and to everyone at Alberta Culture who has worked so hard to bring us together. Thank you for all that you do to foster cultural understanding and appreciation. I would also like to recognize and thank the wonderful community leaders, advocates, and volunteers across Alberta who are doing so much to honor all of our history and to build upon the rich diversity of our province. We all should learn and take pride in our shared past, present, and future. And I have to say, Black History Month comes to an end tomorrow. But that doesn't mean that we should stop talking about Black history after that. We should have these conversations all year throughout the year, and share our personal stories with everyone else. That is how we build strong, vibrant, welcoming, and inclusive communities. Thank you all so much.
Black communities have played in this province. I too first became aware of a very long history of Black Albertans in this province through the story of John Ware when I came back to do property rights advocacy, landowner advocacy in southern Alberta back in the late 1990s. The story of John Ware was legendary, and the fact that when he passed, he was so beloved. People came from all over to celebrate his life. There's a school named after him, of course, as well in Calgary, and to learn more about the many, many other Black Albertans who are adding to the rich fabric of our history gives me joy. I'm glad that we have this opportunity to celebrate. In my particular community that I represent, Brooks Medicine Hat, you may know that we call ourselves the Brooks, the city of 100 voices, and so much of that is because of the number of people who come from Africa to help build out that community at the JBS plant, and have done such an incredible job with, they've created a John Ware Youth Empowerment Program to make sure that the next generation of young people is cultivated with strength and help to deal with the trauma some have experienced in their short lives in coming here. Also, I should mention that we have a deputy premier who is making history as well by being the first Black deputy premier. So we continue to write additional chapters in the story. This history teaches us lessons about perseverance and resilience, passion and conviction, and of course, It teaches us that the struggles of today can become the victories of tomorrow. I have been asked to keep my comments brief, so I would like to end by thank you for having me here. I very much enjoy celebrating the incredible cultural experiences that you're going to be having on display this evening, and look forward to chatting with you more one-on-one. Thanks for having me here today.
We're three, and we're still gonna have a good time. So the song we're gonna do is called Enough, and it's really just a reminder that you are enough. It can be hard to remember that sometimes, depending on what, life throws at you. Sometimes life happens, and especially for minority groups and typically disenfranchised groups, it can be more of a reality and harder to remember that you're enough. So this song is really important. Usually when we do this song, we like to teach the audience. So if you don't mind, you can join us. The words are super easy. It literally says, I am enough. Can you say that with me?
I am enough.
Perfect. Thank you for indulging me. And I'm going to teach you how it goes, and you know when it's your turn. If you don't catch it, he will tell you. He's very good at that. But this is how your part goes. Can we try together then? Okay. 1, 2, 3, sing. I am enough, I am enough. 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 One more time. I am enough. I am enough. When deep inside you're hurting, and no one seems to care, and all around our faces, some familiar, some strange. When you look into the mirror, are you wondering what you see? Is it you, or is it someone you never ever thought you'd be? And I know that you're hurting. A little closer and say to yourself, say, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am strong. I am enough. I am enough. I know my worth. And trying to be different. Sing, I am enough. I don't need your approval. Say, I know me. What's good for me? I am enough. Oh. When deep inside you're hurting, and frankly no one else can tell. It don't help if you're dying inside, but pretend to be alive. Oh, when you look into the mirror, friend, look closer and you'll see you are you, and you are stronger than you think you'll be. And I know
Anyway, okay, I would now like to introduce you to Professor Temitope Oriola. He is a professor of criminology and sociology at the University of Alberta and president-elect of the Canadian Sociological Association. And my eyes are scanning for him. Oh, okay, sorry, sir. Professor Oriola's research focuses on policing and use of force by police, terrorism studies, and resource-related conflict involving tactics like political kidnappings. Thank you very much as we welcome you on stage, sir.
Thank you very much. Lucky for all of us, I have not been asked to sing. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. The Honorable Salman Lakhani, the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Dr. Lakhani, Honorable Daniel Smith, the Premier of Alberta, Honorable Kaycee Madu, Deputy Premier, MLAs here present, leaders from across the spectrum of our province, fellow Albertans, distinguished guests. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers for having me. Now, I began this presentation during the Black History Month event organized by the National Black Coalition of Canada on the 1st of this month. I approach my task within the next few minutes regarding blackness or being black vis-a-vis Martin Luther King's standpoint in his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. And I will argue, so I'm quoting him now, the worth of an individual does not lie. However, de Klerk did not have full control of the security forces. A third force actually existed. The saboteurs disagreed with the direction that South Africa was headed, the creation of a rainbow nation state with one of the most liberal constitutions in the world. The ANC under Mandela resisted the urge to take revenge for years of state-sponsored legalized oppression and brutality. Rather than try to make his oppressors pay for his 27-year incarceration, Mandela preached a message of love. As the Madiba, Nelson Mandela states in his biography, The Long Walk to Freedom, I'm quoting Mandela now, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Unquote. The South African example is instructive as it points to the way in which blackness exhibits love, though it does not always receive that in return. Blackness as an MRI on the soul. In multicultural societies, blackness serves as, to borrow a term from David Axelrod, an MRI of the soul. You can tell the predilections and attitudes of a person, organization, or institution by how they treat black people. One of the benefits of having a university degree of any kind is that you acquire mastery of the language of social justice. Blackness, however, reveals the soul. My point is that the real texture of our discourses on terms such as social justice, deconstruction, intersectionality, social equality, among others, is revealed by how we relate with blackness. Those discourses must go beyond the phraseology or sloganeering of the present age. Blackness as a mechanism for maintaining the human in humanity. In the book Wasted Lives, Modernity and Its Outcasts, Zygmunt Bauman makes the rather provocative argument that our planet is full. Of course, Bauman does not mean that literally. Bauman gives several reasons behind his argument. Technological progress, economic progress, which has rendered one's effective modes of making a living unviable and impracticable. And third, the disappearance of no man's land that can be colonized or settled or used as dumping grounds for human waste. Zygmunt Bauman argues that the production of human waste, or more correctly, wasted humans, is an inevitable outcome of modernization and an inescapable accompaniment of modernity. Blackness challenges the loss of value of human lives. Blackness is treated as the order par excellence. Therefore, the state of blackness is the state of human dignity. Through this transgenerational advocacy for social justice, equity, and fairness, blackness serves as a vehicle for maintaining the human in humanity. Maintaining the human in humanity is not given. It is a constant struggle. No wonder young people from all racial backgrounds and those who desire change participated in Black Lives Matter protests here in Edmonton and around the world. Whenever people advance the cause of the rights of Black people, they join the movement to ensure that human dignity is always sacrosanct. Finally, as Bernice King, the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr., reminded the world not too long ago, Martin Luther King Jr. was once regarded as the most hated man in America, despite today's universal acclaim. My point, blackness is an embodiment of the direction of the arc of justice. It unpacks the unreason and the illogic of the present age and points towards what ought to be. Its perseverance challenges the conscience. Its capacity for hope and love shocks onlookers. Blackness compels us to rethink who we are and what we hope to be. Blackness calls on us to be human and to treat others as humans. Blackness is a measure of our collective humanity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor TIMECODES, for those remarks. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Dr. Miriam Sekandi. Dr. Sekandi holds an MA in Textiles and Clothing and a PhD in Secondary Education from the University of Alberta. She's a lecturer at the University of Alberta in the Secondary Education Teacher Education Program. Please welcome.
Her Honor and my big sister from Uganda, Dr. Lakani, Premier Smith, Deputy Premier, Minister Madu, also my brother. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I bring the voices of the people. So my address is from voices that have gathered, from talking to different individuals, and I hope they will inspire our elected officials here and other individuals here to do their work. Good evening. Here, once again, gathered to celebrate Black History Month. I am always grateful each time I am given access to a platform to share my thoughts, especially during Black History Month. This time they are my thoughts mixed with the thoughts of the people. It is a time when hopefully eyes are on the Black community and ears are perked, so when we speak, we are heard. We also hope that what is heard makes it to the decision-making rooms and we can actually see the change and not just hear about it. The reason I use quotation marks with the word celebrate is because this is meant to be a happy time. We are supposed to be taking stock of all the accomplishments registered over the years. We are supposed to acknowledge all the Black individuals who have left their mark in Canadian history. We all know that amidst all those situations and successes, nothing has come without pushing and pulling. Over the years, we have marked Black history in February. Then come March 1st, that entire history and legacy seems to fade away, only to be revived again next year in February. This has to change. We don't start being Black on February 1st and stop on March 1st.
Yeah.
Being Black is our everyday reality, and it's our heritage. Oh, and just to be clear, it was never a race to who becomes Black first and who doesn't. It was a card we were dealt at creation. So it is quite unsettling that we have a month to raise awareness to nature, yet it is vital to our survival. While I would like to look back and remind you of the great Black individuals who left their mark in Albertan and Canadian history, I also recognize that this moment one day, this moment, will be etched in history. So instead of looking back, I will look forward. For the Black children and grandchildren who will come after me and us. And I do so with the wings of those who came before me, propelling me forwards. I would like to raise awareness again, because this has been said time and time again with no change. Our Black students lack safe spaces to report incidents of racism in schools. Racial bullies are simply given a 2-day suspension with no additional education to help them. This suspension suddenly doesn't make them racially aware. The Black students at some point get fed up with no one doing anything, so they take matters in their hands and they fight. Now guess who gets the suspension? The Black student. And when they get home, guess what happens? They're in trouble with their parents and nothing changes.
That's the reality.
Schools don't even mention the racism piece. So you have Black parents telling their children to keep their heads down, ignore the racial bullies, just study and be better than them. This is not enough. Meanwhile, the child's self-esteem and value is being eaten away. Racism in schools has to be addressed, and real accountability is needed to create an atmosphere of racial and cultural safety for Black students. Unfortunately, schools tend to place this responsibility on Black teachers, if they have one. Recently, I was approached by a young lady at an event I was speaking at. She reminded me that I had taught her at the university and said, "To this day, you have been the first and only Black teacher I ever had." And this was at university. I remember you telling me that I should never stop teaching because there are little Black kids out there looking for people like me to look up to. They will need you. In quotes. Kids should never have to see their first Black teacher at university. So I asked her, how is this being a black teacher thing going? She told me that the teaching part was fine and she loved it, but the hardest part of her work was being tasked with teaching everyone else in the school about diversity, racism, and discrimination. Being the one black teacher in the school, she had been given this responsibility and she was exhausted. We cannot have the one black person in a department or space finding resources and educating non-black folks about black people. Just because this person is black doesn't make her an expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yep. Black individuals have never needed to study themselves because that is who they are naturally. I didn't know I was black until I came here, and then it became a thing. Back home it didn't mean anything. So asking someone who is not a scholar in black studies to dig for resources and educate their colleagues is simply ludicrous. Non-black folks who genuinely desire to learn about and understand black folks have to do the work themselves. The inner work to interrogate the stories they have inherited about black individuals, excavate the beliefs and attitudes they hold about black folks, and the outer work to help dismantle policies, structures, and systems in place that are non-inclusive and inequitable, without tasking random black people around to be their educators. At the same event, another black woman was introduced to me as the head of something. She quickly interrupted the person who was introducing her, saying she hates being introduced as the head of a department where all the policies are full of bigotry. She followed this with a rant about how she was put in that position to reflect diversity. Sadly, she said, that public institution was dripping with bias, prejudice, and racism, and that made her sick. Did you know that so many black people are placed in positions as tokens? Many sit in high-ranking boardrooms where their ideas are ignored, only to be taken up when someone else of a different skin color proposes the same idea. Our skin color should not be used to represent diversity on paper and in pictures, while institutionally, structures and policies remain firmly in place to exclude us. Black people have to stop being used as pawns. They cannot be placed in positions to demonstrate diversity, while the policies do not. Tokenism has to stop. If black folks are to be included in institutions, the policies have to also be audited for inclusivity as well. Policies have to reflect the people. Finally, and this is one of my favorites, immigration. I am not against letting in refugees to Canada. However, can the same rules please apply to all? When the situation in Ukraine broke down about a year ago, Canada, the beautiful country that it is, like Mama Bear, let them in. I noticed that all the official government websites, plus those of organizations and companies supporting immigrants, suddenly had the option of translation from English to Ukrainian. If you doubt me, right now you can pull out your phones and check the websites and prove me wrong. There were clear directions on how to get housing, enroll in schools, how to get job, get work permits. This was implemented fast, very fast. The landing pad was very cushy. Again, I have no problem with doing that for Ukrainians. But can it also be done for our brothers and sisters and siblings from Romania? Can we see the black folk also have their languages, the Swahili, the Lingala, the Somali? Can we see that on websites as well? Or is there an assumption that they won't be able to read it? I am simply appealing to our leadership to wake up to these inequalities. Lip service is no longer enough. We certainly see through it. Even there is a deep-rooted structural problem that has infected every system at our education, health, immigration, employment, and other levels. And as long as racial equity is not addressed, celebration of Black history is not going to happen the way it should. February will continue to be our month to remind leadership, and I will be spearheading this, to remind leadership of what is missing and what needs to be fixed to ensure equality and social justice in this great country. We will not relent until there is real change, real lasting change.
I guess some of you resonated with her speech.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Sekandi. Thank you. So Garth Prince is a Juno Award-winning vocalist, drummer, educator, and recording artist. He produces music that preserves the cultural heritage of Africa for future generations and helps non-Africans discover exotic languages, cultural insights, and musical tales from across the land.
How far you can go, but turn around and take a look back at the road. Yeah, 'cause we need to know that if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. If you can dream it, you can do anything. If you can smile, you can love it like a winter time, spring. If you can dream it, you can do anything. Now you've been reading what the media tells you, that the worth of a person's the reverse of their waistline. But sooner or later, you look at yourself, you won't be someone else, 'cause you don't want to waste your time.
Vigor. So I just had a couple comments. Unlike a lot of people here, I don't have an African name. I've got a Welsh last name, Watkins, and that was because when slaves came here, they took the name of the slave owner. So if you were a slave owned by Watkins, your last name was Watkins. So that's how I ended up with a name like Watkins, and not a beautiful African name. Anyways, Black History Month to me means pride. It means improved self-esteem. It means recognition long ignored and long overdue for the role of Black people have played in the creation of this great nation we call Canada. It means healing. It means acceptance, and it means tolerance. You see, when I was a kid growing up in Windsor, Ontario in the 60s, I was one of 3 Black kids in my entire school, my entire elementary school. Me and my brother were 2 of them. I saw no Black role models on TV. I saw no Black role models outside of my family, relatives, and friends. Black history wasn't taught in school. It wasn't even a topic at that time. I often heard the N-word, I don't have to say it, used in an effort to belittle, ridicule, humiliate, and demean me and other Black people. As a young kid, I didn't really want to be Black. I didn't want to be a minority. I just wanted to be like everyone else in my school. I had very little Black pride. Thank God I had 2 strong parents. I had a mother who always told me that I could do whatever I wanted to do and be whoever I wanted to be in spite of the color of my skin. She told me that I had to try harder than the non-black person, because if I got on an interview, they would take the white person over, they would take me. So I had to be better. My mother always told me that. My father told me of stories when he had tried to enlist in the Canadian Armed Forces in the Air Force, and he spent 3 days where they wouldn't let him enlist because they thought blacks were too stupid to fly airplanes. They eventually enlisted him and they made him a mechanic in the Air Force. I'm also proud that both sides of my family, the Watkinses and the McCurdy's, were respected black families in Southern Ontario. They were lawyers, business owners, university professors, engineers, politicians, and yes, my cousin Howard was even an MP. But as it relates to black history, I have to mention my mom's brother and give thanks to him, my Uncle Al. My Uncle Al devoted his entire life to the collection of black history, before there was a thing called black history. When I was a kid of 6 or 7 years old, my mother used to drop me off at my Uncle Al's house to be babysat. Today, he would probably be classified as a hoarder. His house was stuffed full of papers, memorabilia, books, pictures, locks of hairs, and various historical artifacts associated with black history in Southern Ontario. And he always had a pot of something cooking on the stove. I never knew what it was, but it was bubbling and bubbling on the stove. As a kid, I just wanted my mom to come and pick me up and take me home. Don't get me wrong, I love my Uncle Al, but he just had too much stuff packed into that house, and I wasn't gonna eat anything he was cooking over there. Well, after his death, the Archives of Ontario bought all of his collection, and they placed it on their website, and it's called Images of Black History, Exploring the Alvin D. McCurdy Collection. In 2021, I was contacted by UNESCO, and they were very interested in my Uncle Al's collection. Eventually, the Canadian Commission for UNESCO recognized it as a significant collection of black history, along with Viola Desmond's writing and papers. If only Uncle Al was alive today, hey, he'd be rolling over in his grave. He's probably rolling over in his grave right now. The UNESCO stated, the McCurdy Fonds is one of the preeminent collections for understanding the histories and stories of Amherstburg's role in the Underground Railroad and black Canadians' journey and contributions to Canada at large. You see, I'm a 6th generation Canadian. My family's been here since before Canada in the 1840s, and I still get asked where I'm from. We all know it's from his I Have a Dream speech, and he said, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Are we there yet as a nation? No, you're right. Have we made and do we continue to make tremendous progress? Yes. You've just heard from when I was a kid. There wasn't even a thing called black history. Will we get there someday? Yes. I hope so. I hope so. That's the answer. Thank you very much.
So as we continue with the program, okay, I'm like, why is that so tall? Her current research examines African and Middle Eastern migrants' mental health, psychosocial adaptation, and community engaged practices. As a healthcare practitioner, researcher, and advocate, Dr. Yohani's work over the last 25 years has ranged from practice in traditional clinical settings to mental health, promotion, research, and training within community and university settings. Please let's welcome Dr. Sophie Yohani.
Asanteni. Honorable Lieutenant Lakani, Honorable Premier Smith, who's just left, Honorable Deputy Premier Madu, esteemed leaders of our communities, members of our communities who are here today, Dr. Lakani, friends and family. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words at the end of our time together today. So I'm a psychologist. I'm going to start with the past. When I was a grade 1 student in Tanzania, I had an experience that laid the foundation of my life and work, I think. I was nominated to join our school's Ngonjera team. Ngonjera is a form of poetry or spoken word involving 2 or more people in dialogue. So question, answer, and that's the presentation. That year, we performed at an African Liberation Conference at the University of Dar es Salaam. Attendees were educators, activists, politicians, religious and community leaders, and students locally and from all around the world. They were united in a shared desire to better the life of Black people on the continent and in the diaspora. This was the late 1970s. Nelson Mandela was just turning 60 and still in prison. Apartheid had a stronghold in South Africa. Zimbabwe and Namibia were still under colonial rule. As the youngest member of the team, my task was to open with a series of questions, asking my elders, what was going on in Southern Africa and why were people suffering? I even recall the lines, mimi nauliza eti kuna nini, mbona nasikia wenzetu wanateseka. As I practiced the lines, I actually went around asking people, including my parents and anyone who I could ask, what was this all about? Who was this Mandela? And why was he in jail and so on and so forth? By the time I hit the stage, I had a fairly good understanding of our history, and our task, as I learned at the event, was to contribute to the liberation and socioeconomic uplifting of all people of African descent, regardless of our positionalities. I share this story because I believe that the leaders and community members in this room today and beyond this room, like their conference attendees over 45 years ago, share the similar values and goals and concerns in their work to build an inclusive Alberta and a province where Black Albertans can participate fully as citizens who experience a sense of belonging, as you can see as it was reflected in the previous presentations. These goals and values are rooted in histories, in our struggles, but also in the incredible strength behind this contribution to Albertans. Like myself, many of the leaders and community members here have similar stories of being touched and taught, as our previous presenter just mentioned, at an early age. We were taught in our families and in our communities the values of community development and responsibility to the collective. We're not about rugged individualism. The historical and recent contributions by members of Alberta's Black communities can be understood from this perspective. We are diverse in our histories, in our migration pathways, in our language, in our cultures. Yet we are united with our knowledge that our individual successes are futile if our brothers and sisters continue to suffer, as Dr. Sekandi clarified for us. We are grounded in an unequivocal understanding of our shared humanity, reflected, as I see it, in the Eastern and South African concept of Utu or Ubuntu, about our shared humanity. As brothers and sisters from South Africa, they would say their description of Ubuntu is, I am because we are. We are interrelated. We cannot separate each other.
He's your friendly announcer. am serious news to listen to everybody. I'm about to say, commit the world's disaster, could change your joy and laughter to tears. I'm begging, is that love in me? All of today, yeah. Don't deflate, send yours in right away. Don't you know that hates goes round, hates go round, hates go round and try to break my heart in line. Stop, you got to stop me, please, before that love's in me. Our love, yeah. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Don't you know that hate's around? They try break my heart. You stop it, please. Oh, it'll be love. It'll be love. Well, let's give the world I also wanted to mention, this will be this year we'll be having our first concert of this year will be June 23rd at the Windsphere. So I'm so excited to announce that. Yeah, we'll be at the Windsphere, and we'll be featuring a quartet there and a 100-piece choir. So we've been working really hard on planning the show, and we're so happy that we're actually able to do this because the pandemic it's been a lot for all of us, and the fact that we're able to rise again and do what we love and reach everyone is just it's such a pleasure. So yeah, enjoy this next one. I could start dreaming, but it never ends. As long as you're gone, we may as well pretend. But it's easier coming straight from the heart. You say it's easy, but who's to say that we'll be able to keep it this way? But it's easier coming straight from the heart. So give it to me straight from the heart. Tell me we can make another start. I'm able, as long as I know it's coming straight from the heart. Give it to me straight from the heart. Tell me we can make another start. I'm able, as long as I know it's coming straight from the heart. All the time. Oh!
So I just met some wonderful singers here in Edmonton. Also, everyone in Toronto, I just want to introduce you to some wonderful singers. You'll get a little bit of what they sing, but they have an event coming up in
June 23rd at the Winsphere.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that in Edmonton?
Yes, June 23rd at the Winsphere in Edmonton. And we're so excited for the concert.
Okay, so June 23rd at the Winsphere Center in Edmonton. So look at our young black men doing amazing stuff here. I love the genre in which they're singing. It just reminds me of like this back in the day, you know, soul, old school. Yeah, you'll have something very authentic. And I wish you guys best with that concert. Okay, take care, bye. How everyone is. Right now we're taking a break. We're here at the event Black History Month. Today is February 27th. It is a wonderful